This week on Talking About the Movies, the same guys that gave us The Invisible Man 5 years ago now try to bring the same thing to another classic Universal monster as the director of The Invisible Man, Leigh Whannell, and Blumhouse Studios try to do the same thing with The Wolfman. Do they succeed? We're going to find out. Plus,
you know we getting away.
A white person in a jungle?
I am right here if you guys ever want to have a girls' night. A little Prosecco and pals.
Child, I saw one with a cat and a stroller.
Mama rules.
Keke Palma and Scissor star as two best friends who have to make $1,500 before 6 o'clock or they will get evicted. In a comedy that harkens back to the days of movies like Clerks and Friday, we have One of Them Days, the first double feature of the new year here on Talking About the Movies. And welcome to Talking About the Movies as we celebrate our 20th anniversary all throughout 2025 of giving you reviews of the biggest new releases of the weekend. And this weekend, we have our first two big new releases for 2025. And as you can tell, one is not what you think it is. So it's been a weird scheduling conflict here on this particular show when it comes to the stuff I had planned for these next couple of weeks. As you can tell, last week I said I was going to do The Wolfman and then Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. And then I also said that I was going to do the Oscar nominations, but of course that got delayed because of the wildfires, and supposedly they're going to happen on Thursday this week. So fingers crossed that actually happens. But what about the Wallace and Gromit review? I did see the movie a couple weeks ago when it was on Netflix. I am going to review it for the show. I'm going to hold that off to next week because I went to go see The Wolfman, and then I went to go see the other movie that came out this weekend, One of Them Days. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a change of reviews that I have planned for this week. But I will take a look at Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul next week with Flight Risk, and hopefully the Oscar nominations will come out on Thursday and I can react to those. So, but yeah, like I said before, schedule got changed up a bit here, but my promise to you in 2025 is that I will have a new episode every single week for 2025, especially with this year being the 20th anniversary, and considering that last year there were a number of weeks where I didn't do a new episode. So that's my promise to you. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that happens. So with that said, let's start the rollout of the 2025 movies, and let's start off with a movie that I personally was very much looking forward to. This was one of the movies I was very much looking forward to seeing in 2025, and let's just say the results have not been as promising as you would think they would be. But let's talk about the first one we have here of the new year, and that is The Wolfman. Ow! So, of course, The Wolfman is the reboot of the classic Lon Chaney movie from the 1940s. This is part of, I guess you could say, Universal's latest attempt to try to create a new modern-day cinematic monster universe. Of course, there was supposed to be one that was supposed to be part of the Dark Universe, but of course that didn't pan out. But the success of The Invisible Man with Blumhouse Studios and this director, Leigh Whannell, led Universal to start rethinking about, bringing more monsters back into the mix here. And so we have a new Wolfman movie, this time that was originally supposed to be a Ryan Gosling a Ryan Gosling picture, I should say. It was a pitch with Ryan Gosling, who was supposed to star and also have Derek Cianfrance direct this. He did The Place Beyond the Pines. But unfortunately, the project never got off the ground, and so him and Gosling left the project. And so now we have this movie, which follows a family man seeking to protect his wife and daughter from a werewolf, only to become infected and slowly transform into the creature. Now, the promise of this was very good because, of course, the director is the man who did The Invisible Man, which I really liked. I really liked the Invisible Man movie he did. I also like what this guy did with Upgrade a few years ago, which is a very underrated little film that he did back in 2018. This is, of course, the guy that also has done stuff with the Insidious movies. He did the Saw films. He's been involved in a lot of projects that, for the most part, have been very, very good. So, naturally, I was very excited to see what he would do with this, especially if he could do something similar to The Invisible Man, which was a very clever remake of a movie that kind of also deals with domestic violence in a way, and the way they put it together was actually very well done. It was actually a really damn good movie. So I was really excited to see what he would do with the Wolfman here, and the premise actually sounds pretty intriguing. Let's take the concept of the Wolfman and make it a survival horror film with this family that's just trying to survive, and of course one of them gets bitten by the creature and now is going to eventually become this creature in the long run. And as they set up in the movie early on, this family is very, very far apart than you would think. You know, the daughter has more of an affection for her father. The mother and the mother and the father are still in love, but you can tell the relationship's kind of coming to an end. Like, there's a whole lot of issues in their marriage in particular, but there's a lot of things going on here. And I like that concept. I like that idea that they can bring into this movie. And, you know, there's a possibility to make this a very interesting character study overall. But, unfortunately, I hate to say this because I was so looking forward to it, but let me put it this way. You remember back in August when we got our first look at the Wolfman, and I think everybody's general reaction was pretty much the same as mine?
What the hell is that? I mean, what the hell is that? What is this?
I mean, you see this, and it does not look like the Wolfman. It looks like a freaking meth addict, or somebody that's got clearly something wrong with him, but he does not look like the Wolfman. And so, naturally, that was my first concern going into this movie, that, you know, this is supposed to be our new Wolfman. And some people had said that maybe this isn't the Wolfman. Maybe this is the thing that that transforms the guy into the Wolfman, and we're going to see the real Wolfman at the end of the movie. And that was the natural thinking that I think a lot of us were really going with this movie. But sad to say that, yeah, that Wolfman right there looks actually a lot better than the thing that they have in this movie. Because let me tell you something, this was a massive, massive, massive disappointment of a movie. I was really disappointed by this film overall. I mean, I'll start with the positives, because there are positives. First of all, I like the concept of the story. You know, let's take the concept of the Wolfman, and let's make it a story about this family that has to survive while this creature's out there trying to get them. That's a good concept for a story. And, you know, there are a lot of cool things I like about here. I like the little traits that they have in this movie, like the fact that, you know, the Christopher Abbott character who becomes the Wolfman, like, he is infected, and he's not gonna, like, there's times when he's not able to hear everybody else, and so, like, he has a different kind of sensible sounding in this movie where, you know, he can't hear what everybody else is saying about them, and it's just like, it's like they do these little things here and there, and that's a really cool concept here. And I like the idea of it being kind of a slow burn movie, because we don't see the transformation of the Wolfman until the very end of the movie for Christopher Abbott's character. And it's a really interesting idea. It's an idea that I know is not going to really appeal to a lot of people who want to see the Wolfman right from the get-go, but it just all depends on if the payoff is worth it at the end. Which leads into the many problems with the film. And I'll say this too, the performances, especially from Christopher Abbott. I think Christopher Abbott is a great actor. I've seen him in a lot of stuff before this. He was in It Comes at Night. I think he was also on the show Girls back in the day, and I always liked him as an actor overall. He's very good in this movie. I think he's very entertaining in this role. I think he does a great job playing this performance overall. Everybody else, not so much. Julie Garner playing his wife in this, like, it really does look like she looks like the younger daughter of Christopher Abbott's character. I don't think they did a very good job of handling her as the wife to this character here. I never bought their chemistry that they were actually supposed to be married. And I thought the effects works overall actually worked pretty well. So there is stuff I liked about the movie. Unfortunately, everything else about it really does not work. Specifically, the pacing, the staging of everything. Like, everything in this movie is set up for this Wolfman that's haunting this family to come out and do these jump scares. And they are not subtle at all. They are very much out in the open about where everything is going to go. Like you could just tell that this creature is out there just waiting for the moment to strike and scare the hell out of this kid and this family. Like, they don't even try to hide it whatsoever. And yeah, the script really is a major, major misfire here. It really does feel like this is not the same person that successfully revamped the Invisible Man for a new generation with what he did with the 2020 movie. This feels like a movie that really just felt like it was cluttered all over the place. And then the biggest flaw of the entire movie, and that is, of course, the design of the Wolfman. We finally wait all throughout this movie for the inevitable moment where this guy is going to turn into the Wolfman. You know, almost 2 hours later, the moment is drawing near, and then when it finally happens, It's one of the ugliest looking designs I have ever seen in my life. That thing that they showed you at Halloween Horror Nights looks much more threatening than this thing does in the actual movie. It looks incredibly lazy what they do here with this movie. I could not believe it. I could not believe that the same guy that did the Invisible Man could do something like that, can say that this is good enough to be the Wolfman in this, and to have it look as bad as it does here. Like, it's unbelievable. I could not believe how bad this thing looked, because it looked terrible. It looked absolutely ugly on so many levels. It does not look like the Wolfman at all. It does not look like a wolf at all. It doesn't even, it looks like a crackhead, pretty much. Like, it doesn't even look that threatening whatsoever. Like, it looks ugly, and not in the way that the film is intended to be. Like, you spent almost 2 hours building up this moment, and that's the best you could come up with? Look, I know your budget is very small. I know that Blumhouse is known for having these smaller budget movies, which can sometimes work in its favor. But there's no excuse for this. This looks abysmal. And if there's anything you're going to spend the budget on, spend it on creating a very convincing Wolfman here. Like, use most of that budget to create the Wolfman. Like, I can't believe I'm even saying what I'm about to say here, but this movie makes the 2010 Wolfman, the Benicio del Toro Wolfman, look more threatening by comparison. And that was a CG mess of a Wolfman, but you gotta give it credit that at least it looks like the Wolfman. Hell, Jacob from Twilight looks more convincing as a Wolfman, and that was one of the worst Wolfman designs ever. You made a Wolfman design that makes the Twilight Jacob from Twilight look better by comparison, and that's the sickest low that this film can do. Like it really does make you think that the reason they made this movie was not to make up the fact that the last Wolfman movie we did was not that good. No, they made this. This is one of those examples that I feel like they did this movie so it would get people to shut the hell up about the 2010 Wolfman movie, about how bad the wolf design in that movie looked. Like, that's what I feel like with the making of this movie. They never had an intention to make a convincing Wolfman in this movie, not at all. And this is the end result that we got here. This terrible looking creature that just looks ugly on so many levels, and it just completely makes this entire movie absolutely moot. It doesn't make it. There's no purpose to this movie whatsoever, because there's nothing that happens in here that convinces me that they were really intending to make a good Wolfman movie. Like, I think if you're going to look at the best Wolfman movies of all time, you got to go back to the 1980s. You got to go back to the time when we were using practical effects. And you know which ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about The Howling. I'm talking especially about American Werewolf in London. Those will always be the gold standards of making a Wolfman movie. It should not be that hard to make a Wolfman movie. Out of all the monsters that there are out there, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, I was always afraid of the Wolfman, because once they bite you, it's pretty much game over. You're pretty much dead. You're pretty much going to die at some point here. Whether it's a silver bull that's going to kill you, or they're just going to kill you regardless, like they do at the end of American Werewolf in London. Like, I always found it funny that Alvin and the Chipmunks did a Wolfman movie, and it's a movie where it's an idea where you look at it and go like, this story can only end one way. I mean, there's going to be one less chipmunk at the end of that movie, but of course they find a little loophole because, Theodore got bitten by the Wolfman, who is their new neighbor, Lawrence Talbot, of course, Larry Talbot from the original Wolfman. And then at the end of the movie, Theodore bites him back, and it somehow reverses the curse. Which, I don't know if that actually is part of the Wolfman lore, but apparently that was the way to get out of that situation. But, I mean, even the Wolfman in the Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman was more threatening than this fucker right here in this movie. Like, that's how bad this movie is. Like, the thing you've been waiting for the entire movie just absolutely looks absolutely abysmal. And it's unbelievable how bad this movie is. Like, I was really let down by this movie, but then again, it's January. This is usually the dumping month for movies. I thought we were past that point, but evidently that's not the case, and we have a movie right here that is a major, major letdown of a movie. Yeah, I can't even say the positives really helped the film overall, because there were positives here. Like I said, I like Christopher Abbott's acting in this movie. I like the idea of it being a slow burn movie. I like the fact that they're putting the family at risk in this situation here. Like, there are things about the movie I really liked. I like sometimes when the atmosphere works very well and the tension builds up. But you have to stick the landing. You can't just go down you can't go down the hole that this movie does and then end it up with a film that has so much of an anticlimax at the end of it, and it's just like it's a mess of a movie. It's a big mess of a film. I can't recommend it on that front. So unfortunately, my thumb is down on The Wolfman, and it's a major, major disappointment of a film. And I don't even want to say it's a contender for one of the worst movies of the year, because there was stuff about it I did like, but I'm just overall disappointed by it because I expected so much more, especially with the same director, especially with Blumhouse, seeming like it would be a better idea. It's seeming like the whole better idea to remake these Universal monsters is having them do it. But if this is the way they're going to do it with the rest of, with the Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, the Mummy, Dracula going forward, I don't know if I want them behind this movie, quite honestly. I mean, they've already announced that there's going to be a Mummy. I think it's a Mummy movie coming up next, if I'm not mistaken here. Let me just double check here just to make sure. Yeah, it is the Mummy, and it's coming out next April with Evil Dead Rise director Lee Cronin directing it. So hopefully it'll work out better with him directing it. But I'll tell you this movie in particular really did disappoint me a lot, to the point where I'm going to be more skeptical about the Mummy. But for what Wolfman is, like I said, I can't recommend it. It's unfortunate. It's a disappointed thumbs down for me. Disappointed thumbs down indeed. I really expected a whole lot more from this, and I was really let down by it. And I kind of knew going into this that this film was probably not going to live up to the expectations that I had for it. So that's why I kind of decided to go ahead and see the second big new release that came out this weekend, which is One of Them Days. And I'll just tell you right now, I'm kind of glad I did. So in this movie, you have Keke Palmer and SZA playing best friends and roommates who discover that one of their boyfriends has blown their rent money, and the duo has to find themselves going to extremes in a race against the clock to avoid eviction and keep their friendship intact. And the film pretty much has a very much straightforward, simple concept, kind of like Friday in a way, where it takes place on one single day, or even something like Clerk, it takes place on one single day in one specific setting, and you have the misadventures of these two main characters going through all these crazy adventures they have to go on. Another one's, for example, Dude, Where's My Car is probably a really good example of that. Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. There's a lot of movies that are very much like that, the buddy comedy tropes in a way, and I was really kind of interested from the trailer of it. I mean, I like Keke Palmer a lot. I've seen excuse me. I've seen a lot of stuff from SZA when she's an actress where she can actually be really good. There was a Beauty and the Beast live thing they did on ABC a couple years ago where she was Belle, and she was actually really good as that. Plus, she could play a mean guitar, too. I mean, their chemistry in this movie really does help the movie carry itself through, because they're both incredible in this movie. I know Keke Palmer has done a lot of comedic work before, but for SZA, not really having a whole lot of comedic work in her resume, this is a good opportunity to show what she can really do, and she pulls it off very well. Their chemistry together is very, very good. It reminded me a lot of Craig and Day Day from the Friday movies, and Craig and who was Chris Tucker's character from Friday? I can't remember it now. Smokey from the first movie. Like, you see that kind of chemistry when they're on screen together, and it works really well. It's a very good, fun chemistry, and they have a lot of really great characters to work with all across the movie. But they have a lot of good actors playing these roles here. You've got, Janelle James from Abbott Elementary, Lil Rel Howery, who's usually going to be very good, Gabrielle Dennis, Kat Williams, Maude Apatow, Dwayne Perkins, Vanessa Bell Calloway playing Mama Ruth. I mean, everybody in here plays their parts really, really well. And the film really is very, very funny stuff. It's the type of absurdist comedy that I really have been missing in a lot of comedies. We haven't seen this type of a comedy done in a long, long time. It feels like it's been way too long since we've had a movie like this, and it just works so well on so many levels. It also helps that you have a really good screenwriter for this movie who's making her feature film debut with this, Sarita Singleton. I don't know if she's related to John Singleton. She could be not. I'm not going to say any more about that, but regardless, I mean, she's done a lot of stuff that I've actually really enjoyed from TV the last couple of years. She did the Don Cheadle show for Showtime, Black Monday. She wrote for Central Park, which is a really good show from Apple TV Plus, which is done by the creators of Bob's Burgers. And most notably, she worked on Insecure, the Issa Rae show, which coincidentally she's one of the producers on this movie. And that's how they essentially got her on this role on this movie here. And you know, if this is the future for her, she's got a bright future ahead of her in terms of writing going forward. Yeah, this is a movie that I was kind of curious from the trailer from it. I really wasn't expecting it to be anything that spectacular or engaging overall, but it's a movie that I thought, you know, more than likely I'm probably going to be very disappointed with Wolfman when I come out of it. So maybe I should probably make some time to go check this movie out. And luckily there was a screening right after this of that one of them days, so I went to that too. And I'm glad I did, man, because I found a really enjoyable, fun movie to come out of it. Maybe one of the biggest comedy surprises I've seen in a very, very long time. I really enjoyed this movie. It was a very good time all across the board. It had very few flaws to it. It knew exactly what it needed to do to entertain its audience. Keke Palmer and SZA work off each other very well. There's a great cast involved. The writing is great. The comedy is top-notch. The direction is very good by Lawrence Lamont. It's a really good movie, and it was one of those big surprises that I was not expecting a whole lot from going into it, but I'm really glad I got to see it because I was really impressed by what I saw. I thought it was a very good film, and I highly recommend checking it out. I don't know how big of a success it's going to be, but I will tell you this, as of the time I'm recording this, it's already beating The Wolfman in terms of the box office, so that should tell you everything you need to know about how The Wolfman's tracking out with most people when this movie that doesn't have big name stars like Keke Palmer and SZA are recognizable names, but they're not names that are gonna. I don't think. At least I didn't think they were gonna be names that are gonna draw a whole lot of people into movie theaters. But you got this, and you got Mufasa: The Lion King, which has been in the box office now for over a month, ahead of The Wolfman. That should tell you everything you need to know about what people want to see on this particular weekend. And so a lot of people are probably going to find this movie. It's probably going to really enjoy it. And I highly recommend you check it out too, because it's a film I think a lot of people can really enjoy, no matter who you are. If you're looking for a good, fun time over across the board with a buddy comedy in the same vein as the Friday movies and Clerks and Harold and Kumar and some of the other movies I mentioned on here, I think you're going to find a lot to really appreciate about this movie. I think it's a very fun film. It's a really enjoyable movie, and I do highly recommend it. I give it a good thumbs up. If you want to look for a good way to start the year off with something really good, definitely check this movie out, because it was one that I was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did. But I'm glad I was able to take that risk and go see it, and I'm glad I did, because it was really good and it's definitely worth your time. So I do highly recommend checking out One of Them Days. Now, before I get out of here, I do want to mention something that I should have brought up at the end of the last episode I did, which kind of was supposed to be the starting point for the 20th anniversary year. But this is the 20th anniversary year for talking about the movies, because as you saw from one of my Talking About the Movies episodes not too long ago, 20 years ago this April would be the first time I ever did my first movie review for my high school show, and then eventually evolved into the regular post on Spill.com, and then eventually led to the Reviewing Network website, which is now where it's at today. And my goal for this year, as I said at the top of the show, is to have more episodes of talking about the movies for 2025. And I have a list right here of everything I have planned here. And there's also going to be, in addition to the movie reviews, there's going to be special weeks coming up here where I'll talk about specific things tying into the 20th anniversary specials that I have here. I have several 20th anniversary specials I have planned here. Most of it which you won't see for a little bit here, because after this week after the Oscar nomination show, there'll be at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. We'll have 6 weeks worth of movie reviews, and then in the middle of March, I have 2 shows planned for 3 shows for the month of March, which includes the top 10 movies of this decade so far, the top 10 worst movies of the decade so far, and then at the end of the month in March, I have the best movies I've seen in the last 20 years, and then 2 weeks later in April, on April 13th, which will be around the time of the start of that 20-year run where I began doing the movie reviews, will be my 20th anniversary special, where I'll talk about how the movie world has changed in 20 years, some of my favorite moments from the past 20 years, some of my favorite movies from the past 20 years, all that good stuff. And then an assortment of different movies coming up for the summertime, and then there'll be more 20th anniversary specials over the course of the year. Special themed episodes, I should say. But later on in the year, we'll have the best movies of the last 20 years, the worst movies of the last 20 years of me doing this, and some other specials and many more as time goes on here. And And I'll go ahead and leave a list of some of where you'll see some of those 20th anniversary specials coming up at the special episodes, I should say. I keep saying specials like they're all specials in particular, but they are special episodes. But there'll be 20th anniversary special episodes coming out throughout the year. And like I said, at the end of this show, I'll go ahead and put the list of all the episodes I have planned coming up here for the specific days, so you can get kind of an idea of where each one's going to go here. But just want to give you a heads up on that. But with all of that said, that's going to wrap this episode up of talking about the movie. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my reviews here. Let me know your thoughts on The Wolfman and One of Them Days. I really would like to know what you think of those movies here. Go ahead and put them in the comments below, and also don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button and the notification button and the bell button, because that's where you get updates on when the new videos come out. Now, next week, as I said, we've got 2 shows coming your way. Thursday, we hope, will be when the Oscar nominations come out, and so that's when I'll have my thoughts on those coming up later on that night. And then next week, we'll take a look at Mel Gibson's latest film, Flight Risk, with Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Dockery, and Topher Grace, and my long overdue review for Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. So, big week coming up here on the show. I hope you guys will be around for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. So until the next time I see you, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.